Those Were the Days is filmed before a live internet audience.
Hey everybody, welcome on in. It is Those Were the Days, the show where we look at classic television. And it is the happiest time of the year. It's the holiday season, and so we are going to be talking about a holiday special starring a kid that's incredibly depressed about Christmas. What could be more perfect? I am Travis, aka TV's Travis. I'm hosting this week again. But I can't do things alone. No. I might be steering the ship, but I need a friend. A friend here who always has his blanket with him. It's Steven.
Hey there, it's your favorite blanket wielding kid. Some folks might think that a blanket's just a thing for insecure kids who don't know how to let go. Well, I know that it's a hat, a bib, a flag, a sling, anything you want it to be. My bet is that one day you're going to want to know a guy who knows where his blanket is.
Also with us, opening up her psychiatry booth, it is Amy.
So when I was a kid, we always did the Christmas pageant at church, and I was always an angel or in the chorus or whatever. And then one year, my little sister was Mary, and I was a donkey.
And hanging out, sitting on top of his house in the backyard, it's Audie.
You know, everybody talks about how great Beethoven was, but he wasn't so great. He never got his picture on a bubblegum card. Have you ever seen his picture on a bubblegum cards? That's what I mean when I say Beethoven wasn't that great.
You know,
I mean,
now
look,
I bet
that's
he
a
is. Um,
he might be now, but that in 1965, that's some flawless logic she's got going on there. You can't really poke a hole in that, can you?
No.
If you haven't figured it out by now, we are talking about A Charlie Brown Christmas. It is a Christmas special that plays every year on broadcast television and has since 1965 when it debuted. December 9th, 1965, A Charlie Brown Christmas debuted. It was the first animated adaptation of the Peanuts comic. The Peanuts comic created by Charles Schulz in 1950. And it had become just an international sensation. Everybody knew it. Everybody loved it. So they made this. And he was approached by a producer who the name is, let me find it here. Darn it. I had it. Lee Mendelson. Lee Mendelson wanted to originally do a documentary about Charles Schulz and the Peanuts comic. He had done one on Willie Mays prior to that, and he kind of thought it would be fun to do a documentary on the best baseball player in the world and then one on the worst baseball player in the world, Charlie Brown. He pitched the idea for the documentary, and it never really got picked up. But eventually, in 1965, Coca-Cola wanted to sponsor a Christmas special, and so Lee Mendelson went to Charles Schulz. They got a animation director, Bill Melendez, and in 6 months from the pitch to Coca-Cola, they finished the Charlie Brown Christmas.
That's that Coca-Cola money.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even for that much money. It's just incredible that they were able to do a half-hour animated special, soup to nuts, in 6 months, with child actors doing all the voice work, which is pretty incredible. There are no adults in the comic strip at this point, and there were no adults in the special, so they hired all kids, and half the kids were like background voices were from Mendelssohn's neighborhood.
Oh, wow.
And so they became like huge celebrities at their elementary schools because they were in a
Nice.
Charlie Brown Christmas. The couple there, the one playing Charlie Brown, Peter Robbins, had done a fair amount of acting already at the age of, I think he was 9 when they made this. So he had been doing some acting. He ended up retiring from acting, but did look back on this saying it was one of the best things he's ever been a part of. And it's interesting too. I think it was I want to say Kathy Steinberg, maybe whoever played Sally. She was only like 6, and
Wow.
so she couldn't memorize any lines. So they just
You
had to
can
feed
tell.
her each
Yeah.
line, which is you can tell when you listen to it.
Yep.
Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, this came together very quickly. They actually animated it. I was reading at only 12 frames a second, which is interesting. It's like
Wow.
half what you normally would.
Hmm.
But it's still something like, God, what did I read? Oh, by the way, the budget was $76,000 to make this in 1975.
Wow. That's
It
a
ended
lot
up
of.
it ended up costing about 96.
Hmm.
So,
That's a lot in
and
today
they weren't.
money.
It is. They weren't entirely sure if it was going to be that big of a special because it was half an hour, animated, shown during prime time. It didn't have a laugh track. Charles Schultz didn't want a laugh track on it because he didn't want anything like that to force inform when you should laugh. He wanted the jokes to just be organic.
And
Um,
let's not look past that this was a time when a cartoonist making a newspaper cartoon like this had that kind of power and that kind of say.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good point.
yeah, because it wasn't just buying the rights to something and then making it. This was Mendelssohn coming to Charles Schultz and like, hey, I want to make this thing. I want to work with you. They came up with the story in a day because they only had, I think, a weekend from when they were told that they had to pitch with Coke to have it done and get to Atlanta.
Mhm.
So, so, so they basically came up with the story, went and pitched it, and then had to wait a few days for Coca-Cola to make the decision. And then they did, and then from there they had 6 months to finish it up. So they wrote it over the course of a couple of weeks. There's 13,000 hand animated cells went into making this. Um, and it's a glorious, simple animated piece. It's very limited movement, but it works. It works for the Peanuts
Mhm.
characters really well, and I just absolutely adore it. So I want to know because I have watched this. I can't tell you how many times I had it on videotape growing up. It was on every year. But starting with Audie, what's your history with the Charlie Brown Christmas?
Oh, watched it every year. Loved it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. I mean, I went to college for comics for crying out loud. So, um, yeah, this was near and dear to my heart. And it's funny that we're talking about this on the 28th. Like 2 days ago was Charles Schultz's would-be 100th birthday. So, apt timing for recording
It's
this.
like we planned it.
Right.
Yeah, about
Almost.
that.
We could be we could be threatened that we had planned this. Steven, how about you? What's your history with Charlie Brown Christmas?
I don't have one. I probably have watched it once as a kid in elementary school, and they wheel in the TV and you watch the show. I have now to be fair, I watched Charlie Brown. It's Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown plenty of times. I
Mhm.
had the Peanuts was the Charlie Brown movies and shows and stuff were readily available at the local library. We could rent them on tape.
Mhm.
We used to do that
Yep.
at the library. So that was one of the things I always bring home is different Peanuts things. So I've watched plenty of Charlie Brown. I love the Peanuts comic strip. I do not recall ever watching this all the way through. So we're going to treat this as if it was my first Charlie Brown Christmas. Because whatever
Nice.
7-year-old me with the wheelie TV does not remember much about it.
Okay. How about you, Amy?
Yeah, no, this is my jam. Like Steven, I watched a lot of Peanuts. There's one that no one else seems to remember, which was Race for Your Life, Charlie Brown.
I remember
Oh, I
that.
remember that one.
With the river race.
Yes.
They
Yeah.
like go to camp. All right.
That's the
'Cause,
one I
like,
remember most. Yeah.
prior to the internet, right? It's up there with Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, and that prior to the internet, you're the
Mhm.
only human that knows this thing exists. But then the
Mhm.
internet tells you that no, other people have seen this. Yeah, so I definitely had it on like the recorded tape off the TV with the Folgers commercial and the Campbell's soup with the kid that's a snowman.
Yep.
I think I also had it on like a purchase VHS, and I do own it on DVD. So
Yeah. I absolutely had the purchased VHS as well as a recorded. I think I believe I had it recorded on both Betamax and then later VHS, as well as having a purchased VHS because I remember the clamshell plastic case
Eh.
for it
Yeah.
distinctly. I never had it on DVD. I don't believe, but I'm pretty sure someone in the extended family did, and so it would get at Christmases. It would get thrown into a DVD player somewhere. But yeah, I also watched this a bunch when I was a kid, and loved it. Loved all the Peanuts stuff. I would read the Peanuts. Peanuts was the top above the fold comic in the Sunday comics
Yep.
in our local newspaper forever. I think it might still be actually, for all I know. But it was because either Peanuts or Garfield were the two that would be there at any point. But yeah, this was just this was a fun, and I had not watched it for a few years, so this was a fun little nostalgia trip for me to remember, because as soon as it started, it all came flooding back, and I could picture myself. I could picture the room that I was in when I would watch this as a kid on the exact TV that I watched it on. Like, just all of that came back, and this was super super fun. So it's a very simple story that's being told. And basically, it was Charles Schultz wanted to do a Christmas special about the true meaning of Christmas. So even back in 1965, they were already complaining that Christmas was too commercialized and that
Yeah.
nobody cared about the
Boy.
true meaning of Christmas. And who boy has it not gotten better. Um, so he wanted to capture the true meaning of Christmas. And it was also very important to him to have a passage of the Bible read at some point in the special. So he wrote in for Linus to do that. That was, even in 1965, thought of as kind of a controversial idea, because there wasn't a lot of that on primetime specials and Christmas episodes of shows at the time.
Sure.
But he was insistent. He even said to Lee Mendelson, "Look, if we don't do it, who's going to?"
Hmm.
So it was important for him to do for his own kind of personal beliefs, and so he worked that in there. And what I like is that it is a very important part of this special, and it's handled really well. And it doesn't feel ham-fisted or like heavy-handed in it. It oddly, for it just being literally Linus walks out on stage and starts quoting scripture, it
Yeah.
doesn't feel out of place
It's
to
not
me. And I
a
think it's because it's Peanuts.
yeah, there's that, and it's not a altar call. It's like literally just
Mhm.
reading the Bible story you already know, but just
It
like the King James, you know?
it's
Yeah.
framed as coming from Linus too, right? Because
Mhm.
it's like
Right.
Charlie Brown's having this, we'll call it a crisis of faith for what even though it's not necessarily actually faith, right? But he's like, I don't get Christmas anymore, like whatever.
Mhm.
And so Linus is like, okay, well, this is my deal. Maybe this will help you. And so I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
helps it too.
Well, and I should start. So at the start of the things, Charlie Brown is talking to Linus, and he's like, I don't get it. Like I don't feel Christmas. I enjoy giving presents. I enjoy putting out decorations, but I'm still not happy. I'm just depressed about it. And Linus kind of doesn't really have much of an answer for him. And so he goes to talk to Lucy. And Lucy immediately goes into, well, let's look at your fears, and just starts rattling off phobias. And the best part about that is when she gets to, she says whatever the last one is, and I can't remember it. I didn't write it down, but
Pantophobia,
pantophobia.
I think so, or
And
panophobia, something like
and
that.
he's like, well, what's that? It's the fear of everything. Oh, that's it.
That's it. So much that she
Um,
gets blown back.
yeah. And so she ends up suggesting, why don't you direct our Christmas play? That'll give you something. You need something to do. Come direct the Christmas play. We've got it all. We've got great music, great costumes. We even have a Christmas queen, which is mentioned more than once, and yet we never see.
We'll never get there.
Like we only had
Um,
so many, months to put this together.
yeah, exactly.
They only had
So
13,000 frames worth they could feed in there. They even had to cut it to
um,
12 from 24 just to make the deadline,
right. So, and originally it was going to be an hour long, and they convinced him, let's cut it back to half an hour.
Okay, they could have done
Um,
16 or math, 26,000 frames. Then fine.
Exactly. Yeah, there you go. So Charlie Brown gets convinced, and he decides he's going to do it. So he shows up to rehearsal, and they're all just dancing while Schroeder plays piano.
They get a lot of mileage out of those frames.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
They do.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
they
the two
do.
girls that are identical but mirror image of each other in the purple.
Mhm.
I noticed them. Like,
Yep.
wait, those are copy paste. What are we doing?
Mhm.
Maybe they're twins.
What I
don't
love
know.
about what I love about that though is they get a lot of mileage out of it, but each person has their own individual, very
Yeah.
unique dance,
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
it's burned into your brain. Like you can see that and immediately know who they all are based on their dance.
Yes.
So it was quite awesome. So Charlie Brown is like, all right, we need to do this. So he starts going over like all his stage directions, and while he's doing that, everyone just gives up and goes back to dancing.
I feel his
Nobody's
pain.
listening
Have
to
you
him.
ever tried to
Yeah.
direct your friends in anything and you're just like, nah, this is just a pain?
I used to put on all kinds of shows when I was a kid.
Mhm.
I must have been ruthless. I don't remember being ruthless, but I must have been because they all went along with it the whole time. I mean, my father even turned our swing set into like a stage with curtains and stuff. So, I mean, I must have been fairly convincing.
Yeah. It just got to act the part. I remember directing movies on my, with my video camera with all my friends, and it was, rarely would you get what you wanted, is what I'm saying. You're just like, I'm out here
Yeah.
trying to make
Yeah.
art, and you're just like beating each other up on camera. What are we doing? Grow up,
Yeah.
guys.
No, that is incredibly accurate. I did that for way too long.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets Lucy to be the script girl and hand out pay parts to everybody, and I love that because you get what is it, the innkeeper's wife? Does she have naturally curly hair? Pigpen, my favorite, and his first things, I will, despite my outward appearance, I will try to keep a tidy inn. So he hands everything out, and nobody really wants to do anything. He's getting frustrated, so Lucy sends him out to find a Christmas tree, a nice, big aluminum Christmas tree, preferably
Well,
painted pink.
before we get to that, though, we get all of Snoopy's animals. You know,
Oh,
the
yes.
typical animals that you get in the Christmas story. You know, from the Bible, you've got your sheep and your cows and your penguins.
Penguins.
Yeah. The old Jerusalem penguins, they're not around anymore,
Yeah.
but they were.
No.
They were.
Yeah.
Right, they went extinct.
Yeah. It's
Um,
hard for them to make it in the desert.
So he ends up getting sent out to find a Christmas tree, and he takes Linus with him, and they go to the Christmas tree farm, which is just full of
Big
nothing
air
but
quotes
aluminum.
on farm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it had searchlights, so it was easy to
Mhm.
spot. There's one wooden tree left. There's one natural tree, and it is the saddest, most sickly looking tree you've ever seen in your life. And it calls to Charlie Brown, and he has to get that one. And I mean, it's so bad when he picks it up, like half the needles fall off of it. But he takes it anyway, and he's so proud of it. And he takes it back, and and while he's gone, we get one of my favorite scenes in the whole thing, which is Schroeder playing the piano, and he's playing some Beethoven, and Lucy complaining that he's playing Beethoven. And so he plays something else, and Snoopy comes in to dance, and it's great. I remember that so well, that whole thing with all his different dance moves, and Schroeder eventually notices he's dancing and just stops playing, but Snoopy's in the zone, man. He's just
Yeah.
going for it.
Mm-hmm.
Until he notices there's no music playing and they're just staring at him. And then he gets that instant regret and embarrassment and slinks off.
Yeah.
I felt that really hard.
I loved how many different instruments that little piano could sound like,
Mhm.
Yeah, it was impressive.
depending on how he
Oh,
played
yeah.
it. Piano, organ,
Especially-
or then tiny kids piano when he was doing it one finger, just ding, 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 ding.
So this is my favorite part about that, right? Because this spoke to me deeply because it's Lucy trying to get the right version of Jingle Bells. And she's like, no,
Yes.
no. And her description of what it is like in no way related to whatever the music that he's playing is. But the best part is the fact that it's just this like little plinky kids piano, and she's like, "That's it," because this is the equivalent of canned cranberry sauce at Thanksgiving, right? It's not the best, but it's the one you want because it's the one that you have at Thanksgiving. So,
Mhm.
like, it's not the
Mhm.
best version of Jingle Bells, but it's the one she wants because that is
Mhm.
it's her canned cranberry sauce.
And yet Schroeder, like all musicians, wants to do it 10 times better than anybody ever has before.
Of
He's
course.
trying to make art here.
Exactly. So Charlie Brown, and it's important you say Charlie Brown, by the way.
Yeah.
If you notice, nobody refers to him. The only character in the history of Peanuts I can think of that doesn't
Peppermint
refer to him
Patty.
as
Peppermint
Charlie
Patty.
Brown is Peppermint Patty, who
Mhm.
calls him Chuck.
Mhm.
Everyone else, it's Charlie Brown.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because of all
So
the Charlie Browns, he's the Charlie Browniest.
That's
Mhm.
exactly right.
For sure.
So Charlie Brown and Linus return with the tree, and he puts it on top of the piano, and they just rake him over the coals.
Yeah, they do.
It's just, oh, you're such a blockhead. Oh, you couldn't even do this right. Da-da. So he gets upset. He leaves with his tree.
Now, I
And
will say that if someone I knew exchanged money for that particular branch, I probably also would have mocked them mercilessly.
so he takes the tree and he leaves, and he decides he's going to decorate it himself. He's going to make it look like a good tree. When he gets to Snoopy's doghouse, Snoopy had entered the neighborhood decoration contest,
Yep.
because we missed that earlier. This was when
Win money, money,
Charlie,
money.
yeah, when Charlie
Mhm.
Brown's lamenting the commercialism of Christmas, and he catches Snoopy decorating his doghouse. So he takes one bulb off of the doghouse, puts it on the tree, and the poor sad little tree can't even hold itself up anymore, and it falls over, and he gives up and he leaves, just distraught. And while he's gone, the rest of the kids show up, and they end up decorating the tree. And all of a sudden, it looks just gorgeous. It looks like one of the aluminum trees, except it's
Mhm.
green. It's made of wood. They managed to transform the tree into something better. And then they start singing. And when
Yeah.
Charlie Brown comes out, like, what's going on here? And he sees the tree, and then they all just sing, and that's
His
the end.
face is very good.
It is.
His face when he
Mhm.
sees the tree is probably one of the greatest things in animation.
It's very good.
That
It's such a
gigantic smile.
simple.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, it's such a simple little story, but it's just heartwarming. It's wholesome. There's just something great about this idea that Charlie Brown, the what he goes through during it, how depressed he is at the beginning, and he doesn't really understand why. He's just like, I don't feel the spirit of Christmas. And it took him failing over and over, and then finally, even after all that, his friends still caring enough to decorate the tree, and he found it at the end. And it's just a cute, adorable little thing with amazing music, and it's so much fun.
I
I wish there was
love.
more to
Oh,
talk about, like, plot wise, but
yeah.
go ahead, Steven.
I was gonna just say how much of a joy to me the audio is. Like it's so
Mhm.
crunchy. It's so crunchy and it's so old. But that's like
Mhm.
where half the charm lives is in the scrappy quality of it. Like you were saying earlier about, well, they just did 12 frames a second instead of 24. And there's something that adds to the magic of it to me. And I really appreciate that. And I love the kid actors and the way they sound. I don't know why that always appealed to me, but as soon as it kicked off, I'm like, oh man, listen to that tin can in a closet recording we're getting here.
Mhm.
That's probably one
Well,
of my
it's
one of my favorite parts. And I did think it was cool how it was such a focus on mental health in the 1960s, which was not a thing.
yeah,
And how well they cared about Charlie's depression. They're like, let's really help him figure this out. Or at least Linus did, you know.
Yeah.
That was cool to me. I thought it was ahead of its time in that manner.
well, it is, because, like, Linus is trying to help him. Even Lucy's trying to help him. She's like, you
Sure.
need something to do. Let's do this thing. Here you go. Give you some purpose. Maybe that'll help. And she's trying to help for the most part with the play, like all of that. I love all of that stuff. And the music, they had this mixture of kind of classical music with jazz, and it's a jazz piano, and it's unlike anything you'd really heard in terms of animation at that point,
So
and it
yeah,
was
this
something
is
new.
after years of retail and being forced to listen to whatever terrible Christmas music was piped through. The second that I had full control over what holiday music would be played, first of all, it only happened on Christmas week. But second of all, it was very largely Vince Guaraldi Trio, just kind of on loop because it didn't bother me, and I was the only one hearing it over and over. So it was like, this is great. We're just gonna loop this, and people come in and be like, "Oh, it's so nice." Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, it is.
It's because it's
It's
not
really
Wham for the
nice.
800th time.
It's not
Right.
Wham and Mariah Carey.
Mariah Carey.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh.
Oh, but man, hearing Christmas time is here is just a warm blanket of
Mhm.
feelings. Good night. Like as soon as the episode started and you hear the little piano, I was like, oh, it's good.
Yep,
Thank
you
you.
just let it wash over you, and then you take in the
Mhm.
the animation of the kids ice skating on the lake.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the
And
Vince
then
Guaraldi Charlie Brown Christmas and the Muppets John Denver Christmas album. Those are my
yep,
like
Mm-hmm.
my little cozy happy place.
and that Vince Guaraldi Trio album, the Charlie Brown Christmas album, sold like 5 million copies.
Yeah.
Like it was wildly
Yeah.
popular. So I just enjoyed that. And Steven, you mentioned the kid actors, and I like having actual kids be these characters in this because
Mhm.
it would have been very easy to get some people to do kid voices,
Mhm.
and I think there's an authenticity level having the kids doing it and hearing, like being able to hear that they had to record a single line at a time and stitch them together,
Mhm.
and like it's something that just it feels right because these should sound like kids. They shouldn't sound like professionals.
Yeah, they always. I
And I
mean,
just
anytime you use kids, it adds to. Hey Arnold was one of those shows that
Mhm.
used actual kid actors when it wasn't fashionable to do. Like at some point
Mhm.
Yeah.
towards the '90s, they just started using adults to sound like kids, and then they ended up finding a bunch of 10 and 11-year-olds to be Hey Arnold characters. It always adds to it when you keep it. Think of Monsters Incorporated using an actual
Yeah.
2-year-old to run around and follow around with a microphone making noises. It's
Yeah.
you can't fake that. There's something
No.
else in it that it's not just the way it sounds, it's everything. It's the whole package
Yeah.
about what a child can bring to a performance that an adult
Yeah.
pretending to be a child cannot.
I mentioned
And
pre-show talking about Bluey.
Yeah.
They do that. All the kids in that show are kids of the
yep.
people that make the show, even not even actors. They're just kids that they know. So like they're not even credited. Like they don't want the kids to have any notoriety or be whatever.
hmm
They're just the voices of those characters.
And like I get why certain productions don't want to have kids, right? Because time is money, and
Oh
Yeah,
kids
oh
are going to
yeah.
yeah.
make the recording process take so much longer, and all of that. So I understand that, but you're right. There is a difference between even the best voice actor doing a kid. It's still going to be an adult doing a child,
Yeah.
and there's just a difference in like world weariness in the voice,
hmm
no matter how good that voice is.
And
Uh,
Stephen, you
you know,
mentioned earlier about how it sounded like the writing of this is ahead of its time. That
hmm
was Peanuts, period, because
Yeah.
Yeah.
before Peanuts, you didn't have a comic about kids talking in this adult language that they did. Like that was something that Charles Schultz really kind of pioneered. Like before that, if it was a kid, they talked like a little kid and
hmm
didn't have much to it. Peanuts, they were only kids. You only ever saw kids, but they did not talk like children. They talked like adults. Charlie Brown being depressed all the time.
But with
yeah,
Charlie Brown's comment about the thanks for sending me a Christmas card.
yeah.
I didn't send you a Christmas card. Don't you get sarcasm?
oh
Yeah.
man, I loved that.
Uh,
And even Peter Robbins, who was the voice of Charlie Brown, had said that the recording sessions were pretty chaotic. It was just a bunch of kids running around, um, and the kids kind of thought that the dialogue they were doing was like cool because there was stuff in there that they had trouble pronouncing, like Eastern Syndicate. But reportedly they got all of everything recorded in a day.
wow.
Wow,
So they
that's
got the
impressive.
entire special done in a day,
That's really
which I'm sure helped the 6-month time period. Like, all right, we got that part done. Now we've got 5 months and 29 days to figure out the rest.
Well, these are people
So
who obviously understood children and were like, "There's no way we're going to get this done any other way than just nailing it down in one day.
Yeah.
yeah, pretty much.
Otherwise, we're going
And
to drag it."
it's smart. It's smart to feed the kids their lines and have them just repeat them back.
Yeah.
But that was another fun little bit. Was I think it was they had Bill Melendez was feeding Peter Robbins his lines, and Peter Robbins was reciting them back, but with a bit of a Spanish or Mexican accent. So he had to stop doing that because I mean, kids are
Yeah.
great. Like,
Well, they
Sure.
tell them to do
parrot.
something, they're going to do exactly that.
Like when
Yeah.
you try to whisper to them to get them to say something, you
Mhm.
know, and then they'll
And
just
then they
whisper it,
whisper.
and you're like, "No, just say it."
Yep.
They
Yeah,
parrot.
exactly.
Shoot, I still
Yeah.
do that. If I hang around people with an accent too long, I'll start emulating it on accident, and I'll feel like an idiot.
Mhm.
Like, stop hanging out
Uh-huh.
with British
Mhm.
people because I'll automatically just start being British, and that's not okay.
I mean, it's terrible when you work phone customer service and somebody from another country is talking to you in an accent and you have to kill yourself to not talk back to them in that accent to tick them off.
Mhm.
Another cool thing I read was that so they completed the recording in a day, and next door to where the kids were recording was Jefferson Airplane
All right.
working on something, and they came over. According to what I read, anyway, they came over and got all the kids' autographs.
Oh, that's
Aw.
awesome.
So I thought that was pretty cool. I don't know what else to say about it. This is just like watch this. If you haven't watched it in a few years, watch it again. If you just go watch it. Watch it a bunch. Watch it every year because it's just so much fun. And I'm a fan of that kind of simple animation
Yeah.
that they do in this.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Taking and like the dancing, for instance, it's just on a loop. It's a very simple thing. But there's just something, I don't know, like comforting in watching something like that and hearing just a really cool little piece of jazz playing and these kids dancing
Mhm.
around. And
I
it
think that's
remind
why
like
we liked Flash animation so much in the
I
90s.
think
We were like,
so.
"Yes, I
Honestly,
understand
yeah,
this format."
Yeah.
yeah, because that was just an evolution of this, and we grew up with
Mhm.
this kind of stuff.
You have 10
Hanna-Barbera
frames.
was,
Enjoy.
yeah, I mean, Hanna-Barbera did a lot of stuff on
Yeah.
budget, and there was a lot of reused animation. Actually, apparently, Bill Melendez tried to get a hold of William Hanna to ask for some tips, and Hanna just didn't give him
Didn't
anything.
respond.
Like, yeah, no, you're fine.
I did want to
Um,
pose to Audie because you've got little ones. Do they like Charlie Brown's Christmas? Have you introduced it to them?
I haven't, they're into their own little things. I might try and show it to them at some point.
Yeah.
I just didn't get a chance to this time around, but I'll try to bring it up and see what they think. They'd probably appreciate some of it. Like they're into all kinds of stuff, so
Maybe.
we'll see.
I was
Maybe.
thinking about
I mean,
showing it to Sam, but his cartoons are very fast paced and wild and crazy and
Mhm.
nuts, like SpongeBob, The Amazing World of Gumball, which are fantastic cartoons for me.
So
I'm a
good.
grown up and I think they're great.
Mhm.
But I was sitting there watching this, going, I think Sam would be like, "Yes, I'm gonna go do something else," like just because of the slow,
Mhm.
casual pace of it. So I'm wondering, are we one of the last generations that can hang in there with it, or is it just gonna, or are they gonna be timeless and maybe some kids pick up on it maybe later?
You put the commercials back in, they'll be fine.
Oh,
Don't
yeah.
even
That's
worry
true.
about it. They got a built-in
Not my
break.
kids.
Yeah.
They don't know what commercials are for.
No, my kid has no idea what a commercial is. We were at his grandparents' house and they just have satellite TV. And like anytime a commercial is like, just fast, can we go past it? No. He calls them ads
Yeah.
though. They're not commercials to him. He's just like ads.
It's the skip ad button, Dad.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh,
It'll break you
I do
having
have to
kids.
say, I gotta
Oh,
say
yeah.
something though. I really appreciate, even though it's very classic and dated animation, it's amazing how well it translates this comic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think still, like, the more recent Charlie Brown movie they did, like they kind of did a hybrid between kind of 3D, but kind of had cell shading and kind of had this, ink look to it. And it was okay. But I'm still sitting here thinking like this one made in 65 is kind of better. I kind of dig it better for Peanuts, for
Yeah,
that
it fits Peanuts so much more to just have it be flat, two-dimensional.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just what it needs to be. So
And there's so
I'm
much
with you
more
on that.
room to do things in 2D than we're doing. You know what I mean? Like, we've seen some hybrid stuff. Like, Spider-Verse was just absolutely mind-blowing, and it had 2D, 3D elements all combined together. I don't feel like every rehash of a cartoon we enjoyed needs to be 3D-ified. You know, that
Right.
Peanuts thing could have been souped up 2D and still been awesome. Like, there's plenty of things we enjoy that are 2D that are great. I didn't watch the movie,
Absolutely.
though. I need to check it out because it does look charming, and I love me some Peanuts.
It is
All right,
charming.
so we do have to. I do want to know, starting with Amy, what is your favorite part of a Charlie Brown Christmas? Like, is there one section of it? Is there one thing that stands out to you above all else?
I think it's probably the part where Charlie Brown calls over his little sister Sally after they've given out all the parts, and it's because, and he's like, and Linus is like, what do you need her for? And he's like, oh, she's gonna play your wife. And it's very good because the whole Sally having a crush on Linus is adorable. Sally's Christmas letter to Santa, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, because we did gloss over that part where she's writing about, like, please make a note of the sizes and colors. If that's too much work, just send cash, 10s and 20s. Sally's just great. I appreciate her more than I think I thought she was kind of annoying when I was little, which she is, but I appreciate her more now.
Okay, so Sally, basically.
Sally.
Okay.
Sally.
Audie, how about you?
Well, I've got two. First is the opening with the Christmas Time Is Here, because gosh, I just love that song. I love the way they slow roll into the episode with it. Second is when Lucy is giving Linus his script and he's complaining about memorizing his lines. And she's like, memorize them. And he's like, give me one good reason. And she says, I'll give you 5. And each finger comes down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And Linus says, not only is Christmas getting too commercial, it's getting too dangerous.
But they're good reasons. Those are good reasons.
5 very good reasons.
All right, that's very good. Steven, now that you've seen it, did anything kind of jump out at you?
Sure, I appreciate the overall message of the or the several messages are in this, but the one of the over commercialized Christmas certainly resonates with me. I went through a phase when I was like 13 or 14 where I like wanted to boycott Christmas because like Christmas is about Jesus, not about presents. What are we doing? And I know I was the most annoying kid to my parents because come December 25th. Who was pumped to get up in the morning and find like a guitar or a whatever I was after. So I had to tell Stephanie the other day how obnoxious I was. But I say that, but I do appreciate the scripture reading at the end. I did not expect that, but I did appreciate the try to throw back to what are we doing Christmas for? And that resonated for me. I enjoyed that. I was like, okay, this is a good level set. I'm Samuel L. Jackson right now. I'm trying to find, I'm the shepherd. I'm trying to work my way. I'm going through a process. And stuff like that's just a good reminder where I'm at right now in multiple different things. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, we need some of that. Because Sam is making his Christmas list, and I can probably count on one hand the amount of times we talked about what is Christmas. So maybe we should watch Charlie Christmas, because it's shameful. It's shameful. What it is.
And also that scene, that is an incredible reading by that kid.
That's great.
Like it's such an earnest just reading of those lines, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think for me, the thing that I always remember of this is Snoopy. Just Snoopy dancing on the piano, and it's 3 different poses, but they're so memorable. Snoopy doing his penguin walk, just all of that. And that was what I gravitated to as a kid, and it's still what I gravitate to now. He's such a goofball, and he can do whatever you want him to do, and it was fun. And I like that they didn't try to give him a voice of any kind. It's just some
Yeah.
muttering.
Yeah.
And I think it was
Yeah.
Bill Melendez that did the muttering, and then they sped it up.
Oh wow.
Nice.
Okay.
So it was the animator just muttered a bunch of stuff, and then they sped it up so you couldn't tell it was his voice, and that was what you got. So yes, for me it's Snoopy, definitely.
Snoopy
I do
and-
love seeing the meme coming up lately of it's not Christmas until I see Snoopy eating 13 human femurs.
That's pretty good.
Yes, that sequence is great because it feels so like it's just so weird
Mm-hmm.
because he's just got that dog
But
bowl
also you understand
full
it,
of
right?
dog bones.
You've just
Oh
got your
yeah,
snack and you're
Yep.
just
He's reading your newspaper.
going. Yeah.
and he's just chomping right through those bones like they're crackers. It was so, and just Charlie Brown sees it. It's like, huh, okay, and just walks away. Like, you know what? Just gonna leave it alone.
It is much better Snoopy not having any audible like human lines, because there were Charlie Brown movies and specials where Snoopy talked and it was weird and I didn't like it at all. I don't know if you remember any of those, but he would refer to Charlie Brown as the round-headed kid and stuff, and it was just awkward. See, you don't remember. Good. Maybe
I don't.
maybe I'm making that up, but no, I'm not making that up. That happened. They're out there.
Now, oh,
Right
I'm
in. Those
afraid
were
to
the
look
days
for it.
show at gmail.com. Tell me I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
yes, do so.
Please.
I don't know feedback wise if we got any. Did we get any feedback this week? I
Well,
thought.
Skeezix, who's in chat, mentioned something at some point about having the VHS and couldn't
Every
find her
Monday
VHS,
night
found
while
the
I fold-
DVD.
Oh, here we go. And every Monday night while I fold laundry and prepare for my in-office work days, I hang out and listen to these four chat about some classic TV. Oh, that was Skeezix from earlier tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't find my old recorded off TV VHS, but I do have it on DVD. I'd forgotten how relaxing this was, between the amazing music and actually not a ton of dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
It was also Skeezix. Yeah, it's that music. Like
Mm-hmm.
the opening to this special and that children's choir singing. It's like a mug of warm cocoa and a blanket. And I'm just like, okay, I'm happy now. I'm good.
See, I think Arrested Development broke me with that music somehow, because they used it for when something really somber happened.
Sad.
Yeah. So now anytime like something happens that makes, like, if Stephanie has to leave and go do something, or I have to leave and go do something, we'll both just go wah 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 every
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, I could see that kind of breaking you a little bit on that.
It did.
It's unfortunate.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
But I think also it's because you didn't have the history with
Right.
that music prior
Yeah.
to, right?
Right.
So that's that didn't have anything. It had free reign basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Arrested Development had rent free for that.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas it was already like burned into my brain, this whole special,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
years and years before. Yeah, so that's the Charlie Brown Christmas, 1965.
What? One other little addendum I want to talk about here for a second.
Sure.
I got a cassette tape one year of Snoopy and his friends, the Royal Guardsmen. And it is a tape of Snoopy versus the Red Baron
Okay.
with songs interspersed.
Huh.
And it's happens around Christmas time at one point. So that also has to be burned into my head at Christmas time, specifically because this album, it plays out like a play. So like there's like a British guy talking on his radio telling you what's happening, and then they go into these songs about the story of Snoopy versus the Red Baron, the return of the Red Baron, and the story of Snoopy's Christmas. And then it had a side two
Oh, I
where
remember that.
them
I
just
do.
doing songs about stuff. Like one of the songs is "It's Sopwith Camel Time," the kind of plane he flies.
Yep.
So, if you have not heard that, I would encourage you to seek that out too. I think you can easily find it on like music services and stuff. It's just kind of adorable.
I'll have to look for that. I do remember vaguely that tape. I don't know if I had it or if I had a friend that did, but I seem
It's
to
on the
remember that.
YouTubes.
It is.
Yeah.
Well,
Shipping
there you go.
fine.
I think if you search hard enough, everything's on the YouTubes,
It's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
for better or worse. But yeah, that is a Charlie Brown Christmas. That's kicking off holiday season for us here on Those Were the Days. Classic holiday specials. It is not my favorite holiday special. I'm saving that one. We will get to it next year.
Oh,
I will make
snap.
sure of that.
Mm.
So that's a tease for you. You get to spend a year thinking about what could be Travis's favorite special.
I'm going to do that.
Until
So you keep
then,
me up
though.
at night, Travis. You've really ruined everything. Not going to sleep for a
But-
year.
And before we do all that, we have 3 more episodes this month with the 3 of you, starting with Audie. Audie, you are taking the reins next week. And what are we watching?
We are going to be watching one of my favorite programs ever. We're going to be watching some Perfect Strangers.
All right.
Season 1,
Ooh.
Episode 11, A Christmas Story. It is currently on Freevee, and I'm crossing my fingers that it doesn't go away anytime soon. But yeah, so we're going to do that. Because I
Awesome.
need me some
Awesome.
Bauki Bartakobos.
My sister and I used to do the Dance of Joy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We did that. I could sing it right now. But
Yeah.
I'll save that
Don't
for next
be
week.
ridiculous. Oh, I can't wait. I have not watched Perfect Strangers in probably decades. So
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to this. So that's what's coming up next week. And then we'll still have Stephen and Amy following those up. We get to find out what
Mhm.
those are. And towards the end of this month, we will throw up another poll on Twitter and the socials to get our next topic that we will do of 4. You can find us on Twitter at Those Days Show. And we may even start popping up on other social networks. We'll see. Right now, we're gonna hang out with Twitter as it burns to the ground, and hopefully everything stays fine. Honestly, I don't think it's going anywhere, but that's a conversation for a different time. Or you can always email us. thosewerethedayshow@gmail.com. Send in if you have specific shows or topics you think that would be fun for us to cover, a specific show or just a like type of episode that you want to see. If you have feedback on the episodes, if there's anything you think that we missed when talking about a show, email us. Let us know. We want to hear from you.
For sure.
Those were the days show@gmail.com. We'll read your email on the air too if you want us to. So until next week in Perfect Strangers, a Christmas story. The Christmas story?
A Christmas Story.
A Christmas story, not the Christmas story. Okay.
Yeah.
Important
that'll be next week,
distinction.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes, it is. But until then, for Amy, for Stephen, for Audie, I am Travis, wishing you a wonderful holiday season and watch some classic TV.
Mhm.